Emma sat at her large office desk, seriously typing on her laptop. The office was silent, as her colleagues had already left for the day, leaving her alone. She looked at the time, 8:47 p.m. Almost done, she whispered to herself, and continued typing furiously. The quarterly report she was working on had to be perfect. Emma was the epitome of success. At just 29, she had climbed the corporate ladder to become the youngest manager in the history of Apex Telecommunications. Her sharp suits, expensive taste, and commanding presence made her a force to be reckoned with in the male-dominated industry. However, even with her success, Emma was still single. Not for the lack of suitors, as she naturally attracted men, but because she didn't trust easily. Many of the men who pursued her seemed to care more about her status than her as a person. When the final email was sent, Emma exhaled deeply and stretched her arms above her head. Finally, she said, and shut her laptop. She gathered her belongings and headed to the underground parking lot to where she had parked her car. But as she approached, something caught her eye, a flat tire. Of course, it had to be today of all days, she grumbled. She bent down to inspect the tire, and her frustration grew. She looked around the parking lot, but there was no one in sight. Her colleagues had left hours ago, and the security staff was stationed at the gate. She considered calling for roadside assistance or leaving the car there and getting a cab. But before she could decide, she heard the sound of footsteps approaching. Startled, she turned around to see Ojima, one of the cleaners at the company, walking towards her. He was still dressed in his uniform, a faded blue shirt and black trousers. "Good evening, madam. You are still here?" Emma sighed. "Yes, Ojima. Flat tire, just what I least expected to end the day." Ojima bent to inspect the tire. "Looks like you hit something sharp. Do you have a spare one?" "Yes, it is in the boot, but I don't know how to change it," Emma admitted. Ojima smiled. "That is no problem. I can handle it." "Are you sure? You don't have to." "Madam, it is no problem at all. Please open the boot." Emma unlocked the car and Ojima retrieved the spare tire and tools. He walked quickly and within 15 minutes, the job was done. Ojima wiped his hands on a rag and stood up. "Your car is good to go, madam." Emma let out a breath of relief she hadn't realized she was holding. "Thank you so much, Ojima. I don't know what I would have done if you had not come." "It is nothing," he said, and turned to leave. "Wait," Emma called out. "Let me give you a ride home. It is the least I can do." "Oh no, madam, I don't want to inconvenience you," Ojima protested. But Emma insisted. "It is late and you have helped me. Please let me drop you off." Ojima hesitated and then nodded. "Thank you, madam." As they drove through the quiet streets of Lagos, Emma looked at Ojima in the rearview mirror. He sat stiffly with his hands resting on his lap. It was clear that he was uncomfortable. "You don't have to be so formal," she said after a few minutes. "I don't bite." Ojima smiled nervously. "Sorry, madam. I'm just not used to this." "Used to what?" "Sitting in the same car as my boss," he replied. "Well, tonight you are not my employee," Emma said lightly. "You are someone who saved me from a very long night." The next day, Emma arrived at work, and during lunch break, just as she was heading out to eat, she sighted Ojima sitting at a pavement eating puff-puff with a bottle of soft drink. She decided to offer him a proper lunch as a way of expressing her gratitude. "Ojima!" He looked up startled. "Madam, are you having lunch?" she asked, pointing to the puff-puff. Ojima nodded shyly. "Yes, madam." Emma smiled. "Join me at the main table. Let me buy you a proper lunch." Ojima blinked, not sure if he heard her correctly. Madam, I don't think that is appropriate. Emma crossed her arms. It is just lunch, Ojima. You helped me yesterday, remember? The least I can do is to treat you to a proper meal. Reluctantly, Ojima stood and followed her. As they ate their meal, Emma looked up and asked curiously, "So, tell me about yourself, Ojima." He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "There is not much to tell, madam." "Then let me hear the little you have," Emma said with a smile. "Well," Ojima began hesitantly, "I am from a small village in Benue State. I studied social work at the University of Jos and graduated 3 years ago." Emma's eyebrow furrowed. "You are a graduate?" "Yes, madam," Ojima said. "I had big dreams of working in NGOs, helping communities, maybe even starting my own projects one day. But after graduation, finding a job was impossible." "What happened?" Emma asked, genuinely concerned. "I applied everywhere," he replied. "But most places either wanted years of experience or connections I didn't have. I came to Lagos thinking it would be easier here, but the city was tougher than I expected. I took this cleaning job because I needed to survive." Emma was silent for a moment, digesting his words. She was shocked that someone as educated and well-spoken as Ojima was working as a cleaner. It felt unfair and cruel. "I am so sorry," she said softly. "That must have been really hard." Ojima shrugged. "It is what it is, ma. I'm just grateful to have a job, even if it is not what I hoped for." "Thank you again for helping me yesterday," Emma said as they finished their meal. "You didn't have to, but you did, and I really appreciate that." Ojima smiled. "It was my pleasure, madam." From that day on, Emma made it a point of duty to check on Ojima during lunch breaks. Whenever she saw him eating his broke meals, she would invite him to join her and buy him a proper meal. At first, Ojima felt awkward, but over time, he grew more comfortable around her. They began to share more about their lives, and Emma was impressed by his kindness and the respect he showed to everyone around him. One evening, Emma had stayed late at work to finish another report, and just as she was driving out of the company gate, she saw Ojima strolling along the street. She pulled up beside him and offered to drop him home. The next morning, Emma was in her office going through emails when she was interrupted by a knock at the door. "Come in," she called. Ojima entered, holding a small bundle of cash wrapped in a rubber band. "Good morning, madam." "Good morning, Ojima. What is that?" Emma asked, confused. He placed the money on her desk. "I guess it fell out of your bag last night when you dropped me off. I noticed it from your side of the door as you drove off." Emma stared at the bundle, stunned. It was a significant amount of money, more than Ojima's monthly salary, perhaps even 2 months' worth. "You brought it back?" she asked. "Yes, madam," Ojima said. "It's not mine." Emma's chest tightened. She hadn't even realized the money was missing, but Ojima, who could have easily kept it without anyone knowing, had chosen to return it. "You didn't think of keeping it?" she asked again. Ojima looked genuinely surprised. "Why would I do that, madam? It is not mine to keep." Emma stared at him for a long moment, and her respect for him deepened. "Thank you, Ojima. Not everyone would do what you just did." "It is nothing, madam. I am just glad you have it back." Emma picked up the money and placed it in her drawer. "You are a rare person, Ojima. I mean that." "Thank you, madam," he said before leaving the room. As he left, Emma leaned back in her chair. She couldn't concentrate again. She couldn't stop thinking about his honesty, his humility, and the way he carried himself. Ojima wasn't just a good man, he was exceptional. And for the first time in a long while, Emma found herself intrigued about someone who who had no wealth or status, but possessed a richness of character that few could only match. She thought about the countless men who had come to her, polished, wealthy men who flaunted their status, but none of them had left an impression as Ojima had. What is it about him? She asked herself. From that day, Emma found every opportunity to spend time with Ojima, whether it was during lunch, after work, or even in brief moments when she crossed paths with him. She made it clear that she valued his presence. Ojima, however, remained cautious. While he appreciated her kindness, he couldn't shake the feeling that they came from two different worlds. One Saturday, Emma called Ojima and invited him for coffee. Ojima, she said over the phone, "Are you free this afternoon?" "Yes, I am," he replied. "Good. Meet me at the cafe on Awolowo Road at 2 p.m. My treat." "Madam, I don't think..." "Call me Emma," she corrected, "and don't think too much. Just come over." At the cafe, Ojima arrived promptly, dressed neatly but modestly. He looked around nervously before spotting Emma, who waved him over. "You are punctual," she said as he sat down. Ojima smiled. "It is a habit I learned from my father. He always says, if you are not 10 minutes early, then you are late." Emma laughed. "I like that. Tell me more about your father." They spent hours talking about their families, their struggles, and their dreams, and Ojima felt his walls begin to crumble. Emma never made him feel small or insignificant, and her genuine interest in his life made him realize how rare such kindness was. Suddenly, he said, "You are different." "How so?" Emma asked curiously. "You don't look down on people," he said. "Most people in your position wouldn't bother with someone like me." Emma smiled. "Well, you may be right, but I don't see people as their positions, Ojima. I see them for who they are." Their friendship continued to grow, and over time, the boundaries were off. They began meeting more often, and Ojima found himself looking forward to their time together. One evening, after an outing together, Emma and Ojima sat in her car parked outside his apartment. Emma genuinely said, "Thank you for always being there. I don't think I have ever had someone I could talk to like this since my mother passed." Ojima looked at her. "You are the one who has been there for me, Emma. I don't know how to repay you." "You don't have to," she said. "I just want you to know how much I value you." Even though none of them said anything further, they knew what their hearts were saying, and they were willing to let it flow. As their relationship advanced, Emma decided it was time to help Ojima move forward in his career. One evening, as they sat on a bench in the park, she brought up the topic. "Ojima, you are too talented and educated to stay in your current position." He frowned. "It is the only job I could get, Emma. I have made my peace with it." "But you don't have to," she said. "You deserve better, and I can help you." Ojima hesitated. "Please, I don't want people to think I'm using you." But Emma waved it off. "Let them think what they want. I know your worth, and I want to see you succeed." True to her word, Emma spoke to the HR department and arranged for Ojima to be transferred to a junior officer position. When she told him the news, he was overwhelmed. "Emma, I don't know what to say. This is unbelievable." Emma smiled. "Just say you do your best." 6 months into his new role, Ojima had proven himself to be diligent and capable. His confidence grew, both at work and in his relationship with Emma. One evening, as they walked hand in hand along a quiet street, he suddenly stopped. "Emma, I never thought I would find someone like you. You have changed my life in ways I can't even describe. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Emma's eyes filled with tears as she nodded. "Yes, Ojima, 100 times yes." Their wedding was beautiful and was attended by close friends and family. For the first few months, their marriage was everything Emma had dreamt of. Every morning, they left for work together. They supported each other, celebrated their victories, and built a life together. Emma felt a deep sense of contentment. She had taken a chance on Ojima, and it was a decision she was sure she would never regret. However, as time went on, Ojima began to change. The once humble and supportive man she had fallen in love with started to withdraw. At first, it was minimal, like a sarcastic comment here and there. But soon, his insecurities began to manifest directly. It started with the way Ojima addressed her at work. As his manager, Emma naturally expected him to treat her like any other boss. But Ojima seemed to resent the dynamic. One morning, during a team meeting, he interrupted her in front of other staff members. "I don't see why we are spending so much time on this," he said. "There are better ways to approach the project." Emma paused, clearly startled. It wasn't the content of his objection that bothered her. Rather, it was the tone with which he said it. It felt disrespectful, as though he was trying to undermine her authority. "Thank you for your input, Ojima," she said, while maintaining her professionalism. "We'll discuss alternative approaches after the meeting." After the meeting, she called him into her office. "Ojima, can we talk?" He entered reluctantly. "What is it?" "I feel like you undermined me in the meeting," she said gently. "I don't mind you sharing your ideas, but the tone was off." Ojima scoffed. "Tone? I'm just speaking my mind, dear wife. Or is that not allowed because you are my manager?" Emma's heart sank. "This isn't about being my husband, Ojima. This is about respecting me as your boss." "And that is the problem, Emma," he snapped. "Why should I answer to you here when you are my wife at home? It is wrong." Emma sighed. "I am not asking for too much. I am just asking for the same respect you would give to any manager, so that I don't lose my respect before my other colleagues." Ojima didn't respond, but his mind was made up. The incidents at work became more frequent, with Ojima often questioning Emma's decision or acting distant during team discussions, and soon it became obvious at home. One evening, as they sat in the living room, Ojima poured out his frustrations. "Emma, I can't keep working under you like this," he said with resentment. "People are talking. I can't be your husband and yet be lower than you at work. I need something bigger and better." Emma frowned. "Ojima, promotions take time. You have only been in this role for barely few months. You need to build your experience." But Ojima grumbled. "It is easy for you to say. You are already at the top." Emma reached out to touch his hands. "I want to help you, Ojima, but you need to be patient." "Patient?" he snapped. "I am tired of waiting, Emma." Subsequently, Ojima's insecurities continued to spread into other aspects of their lives. One day, as they were driving home from work, he casually mentioned wanting a new car. "My car is fine, but it doesn't feel substantial. I have been thinking about getting an SUV." Emma raised an eyebrow. "An SUV? That's a big expense, Ojima." "I know," he said, "but I deserve something better, don't you think?" Emma hesitated. She had always been careful with money, even with her high salary, but she could see how much this meant to him. "All right, we'll look into it." The next weekend, they visited a car dealership, and Ojima greedily gravitated towards the most expensive SUVs, eventually choosing one that was significantly larger and flashier than Emma's own car. "Are you sure about this one?" Emma asked cautiously. "It is a bit extravagant." "It is perfect," Ojima insisted. "Besides, you can afford it." Emma bit her lip but agreed. She wrote the check. hoping that the gesture would ease Ojima's insecurities. Instead, it seemed to feed them. Despite the new car, Ojima's dissatisfaction only grew. He became more irritable, shouting at Emma over trivial matters. One night, as they sat down for dinner, he voiced his biggest demand yet. "I have been thinking, you should resign, Emma." Emma paused, not sure she had heard him correctly. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Ojima said. "I don't like the dynamic we have at work. It is affecting our marriage." "Ojima, that's not practical," Emma argued. "We need my income. Your salary alone is not enough to cover our expenses." But Ojima banged his hand on the table. "I can handle it. I am the man of this house. I don't need you overshadowing me." Emma stared at him unbelievably. "I am not overshadowing you. We need to consider our future. We can only build a life together by teamwork." "But you are not letting me be the man," he shouted. "You don't understand how humiliating it is to answer to my wife every day. You are taking away my dignity." "That is not fair, Ojima," Emma said emotionally. "I have done nothing but support you." "Then prove it," he said coldly. "Choose your job or our marriage." Emma's heart felt like it was being ripped into two. She loved Ojima, but the demand felt like a betrayal. "You are asking me to give up everything I have worked for." "I am only asking you to respect me," he corrected. The following week, Emma handed in her resignation. As she walked out of her office for the last time, she had a bad feeling, but she tried to brush it off. She had spent years building her career, and now it was gone, all sacrificed for a man who couldn't see her worth beyond his own insecurities. However, she consoled herself, saying that she was just saving her marriage. She believed it was worth it to make her husband happy. At home, Ojima seemed pleased. "Thank you. This will make things better." But it did not. The loss of her job left Emma feeling aimless, and Ojima's behavior didn't improve. His insecurities continued to manifest in other ways, and their arguments became even more frequent. As such, Emma realized that giving up her career had not solved the problem. It had only made her lose a part of herself. It got worse when Ojima's salary was not enough to take care of their expenses. The big SUV he insisted on buying took a huge chunk of his income, and soon Emma had to start using her savings to cover their bills. One evening, Emma sat Ojima down to talk about their finances. "Ojima, my savings are almost gone. I have been using it to cover the rent, groceries, and other bills, but there is nothing left now." Ojima frowned. "How can it all be gone? What have you been spending it on?" Emma felt her chest tighten. "I just stated them now. Even maintaining your expensive SUV costs a lot." He scoffed. "Okay, so it is my fault now." "I am not blaming you," Emma maintained. "But we need to figure something out. Your salary is not enough for everything." Ojima's tone turned cold. "Maybe you should have managed your money better. You are the one who resigned from work." Emma stared at him in betrayal. "You told me to resign, Ojima. You said you could take care of everything. And now I am trying," he snapped. "Do you think money is easy to make? Stop nagging me about this." Emma wanted to argue, but she stopped herself. She was too tired. As the months passed, Ojima's behavior graduated from worse to worst. Whenever Emma asked for money, he would complain. "You are always spending without thinking. I don't blame you when all you do is sit at home doing nothing. You don't know the value of money." Emma felt like she was walking on eggshells around him. She had to stop asking for money and use the little she had left for their basic needs. But eventually, her money ran out completely. She couldn't even afford to go to the salon anymore, and Her once glamorous hair became messy and unkempt. She avoided going out as she was too ashamed of how she looked. However, in the middle of all this, Emma tried to find happiness by starting a family. She believed that having a child might bring joy to their marriage and fix the growing distance between her and Ojima. One night, as they sat at the dining table, she brought it up. Ojima, I have been thinking, maybe we should try for a baby. Ojima raised an eyebrow. A baby? With what money? Emma hesitated but pushed on. I think it will bring us closer and give us something to look forward to. Ojima laughed bitterly. You can't even take care of yourself and you want to take care of a baby? His words hurt, but Emma swallowed her pain and said nothing. She decided to try anyway, tracking her cycles and doing everything she could to conceive. But months passed and nothing happened. When she went to see the doctor, she was told her health was fine, but she needed to rest. When she told Ojima, hoping for some support, he only made things worse. Maybe the children are running away from you. They don't want to come into your sad and useless life. Emma turned away and cried her eyes out, wondering how the man she loved had turned into someone so cruel. Emma's life became a routine of sadness. She spent her days cleaning, cooking, and waiting for Ojima to return home, only for him to ignore or insult her. No matter how hard she tried, it was never enough for him. One morning, as she was cleaning and dusting her room, she found a photograph of her mother. It was from her university matriculation day. In the picture, Emma stood full of hope and determination, while her mother stood smiling brightly beside her. Seeing the picture made Emma cry. She remembered how much her mother had sacrificed to raise her after her father died. Her mother had worked so hard, taking on multiple jobs just to make sure she went to school and had a good future. Emma held the picture close to her chest and cried, Mama, you gave me everything. You taught me to be strong and never give up. How did I let myself become like this? You didn't go through all that for me to end up like this. Suddenly, she stood up and faced the mirror. No, Emma, you can't keep living like this. Life is hard, but you are stronger than anything it throws at you. Don't let anyone steal your happiness or your dreams. You will pick up your life and rise again. That evening, Emma brought out her laptop. It had been months since she used it, but now she had a plan. She opened it and began updating her resume, listing all her skills and achievements from her previous job. She began to see the vision of the confident, successful woman she used to be. Over the next few weeks, Emma searched for job openings online. Every day, while Ojima was at work, she sent out applications and updated her cover letters. She didn't tell Ojima because she knew he would discourage her. One evening, as she filled out another job application at the dining table, Ojima came home earlier than usual. What are you doing? He asked. Emma quickly closed her laptop. No, it's nothing. I'm just organizing some old files. Ojima narrowed his eyes. You shouldn't waste time on things that don't matter anymore. Focus on the house instead. Emma swallowed her anger and stayed silent. She knew she had to keep her plans a secret to win this battle. 2 months passed and Emma felt frustrated. She had sent out so many applications but received no response. She began to doubt herself. And then, one morning, her phone vibrated from an email notification. She opened it and froze. She had been invited to an interview for a position at a well-known marketing firm. Her heart pounded as she read the email again and again. The position wasn't as high as her previous one, but it was a step in the right direction. Emma quickly began to prepare. She brushed up on her skills, rehearsed answers to common interview questions, and made sure her resume was perfect. On the day of the interview, Emma woke up early. She took extra care in getting ready and went out looking as professional and confident as she could. A week later, Emma received a phone call from the company. "Mrs. Emma, we are happy to offer you the position. We were very impressed with your experience." Emma's heart leaped for joy. "Thank you so much. I won't let you down." The salary was lower than her previous job, but the position was reputable and there was room to grow. For Emma, it wasn't just about the money, it was about reclaiming her independence. Emma woke up early that morning, filled with both excitement and fear. It was her first day at her new job, and after years of being suppressed, she finally felt like a bird about to escape from its cage. As she stood by the mirror adjusting her corporate gown, the sound of footsteps outside her bedroom door startled her. Ojima came in and frowned when he saw her dressed up. "Where are you going?" he asked sharply. Emma paused for a moment and then said calmly, "I got a job. Today is my first day." Ojima's expression changed instantly. "What? Are you out of your mind? Who gave you permission to get a job? Who is going to take care of this house?" Emma looked at him amused. "Permission? Ojima, I am not a child. And as for the house, it will take care of itself. For me, I have a career to rebuild." Ojima glared at her angrily. "You will reject that job, Emma. Do you hear me? I forbid you from working." Emma's laughter rang out mockingly. "Forbid me? Ojima, this isn't 1920. If you are battling with low self-esteem because you can't stand my progress, then that is your problem, not mine." Before he could respond, she picked up her bag and walked out, leaving him fuming in anger. By the time she got to her office, Emma was already smiling and eager to work. She felt like herself again, and at the end of the day, she made a promise to herself: "Never again will I let anyone stifle me." When she returned home that evening, she found Ojima pacing the living room. His face was like thunder, and the moment she stepped through the door, he charged at her. "How dare you walk out on me this morning? Do you know how disrespectful that was?" he yelled. Emma sighed and dropped her bag. "Ojima, I am really tired. Can this wait till tomorrow?" "No, it cannot. You think you have grown wings, but it will never happen under my watch. You will have to choose, Emma. It is either that job or this marriage." Emma leaned against the wall and crossed her arms. "Then I choose this job. And let me tell you why. This job gives me peace, fulfillment, and hope. But this marriage, it has given me nothing but pain, sorrow, and disrespect. I won't sacrifice myself for you anymore." Ojima stared at her unbelievably. He wasn't used to this version of Emma, which was bold, unapologetic, and unyielding. "You are finished," he shouted. "If that is how you want it, then this marriage is over." Emma nodded without hesitation. "My pleasure. But since this is my house, you will be the one to leave. Please drop the keys on your way out." Ojima's jaw dropped. "This is your house? You mean my house?" Emma smirked. "Oh no, Ojima. Remember, I rented this house with my money. You have been living here as a guest." Without another word, Ojima stormed into the bedroom, packed his belongings and left, slamming the door behind him. 3 months passed and Emma only got better. Her job kept her busy, and in her free time, she learnt new skills, made new friends, and even picked up hobbies she had long abandoned. She didn't think of Ojima once, and when she did, it was with relief that he was no longer in her life. And then, 6 months later, just as she was finishing her breakfast one morning, there was a knock on her door. Emma opened it only to see Ojima standing there, looking humble and remorseful. Emma, I came to apologize. I am sorry for how I was in the past. I am ready to make our marriage work now. Emma looked at him skeptically. Oh, really? And what brought about this sudden change of heart? Ojima explained. I have grown, Emma. I realize now that I was wrong. I shouldn't have tried to stop you from working. A woman can be anything she wants to be, and I was a fool to think otherwise. But Emma still didn't believe him. That is wonderful news. So, how has it been at work? Ojima hesitated before finally saying, well, I lost my job. The company suffered redundancy, and I was among those who were retrenched. Emma giggled bitterly. Aha, now it makes sense. You are not here because you changed. You are here because you need me. You are irredeemable. No, Emma, that's not it. But Emma held up a hand to cut him off. Save it, Ojima. I have already spoken to my lawyer. The divorce papers are being processed, and you will get them soon. You taught me a valuable lesson. Never let anyone dim my lights. So, thank you for that. Now, if you don't mind, please don't ever show up here again. Ojima's face fell. Emma, please, I have changed. Give me another chance. But Emma shook her head. I would be cursed to take you back. Goodbye, Ojima. Without waiting for a response, she closed the door and locked it. She heaved a sigh of relief as she realized that she had finally closed one chapter of her life and was ready to write a new one. One where she was free, strong, and unstoppable. The moral of the story lies in the fact that we ought to be careful who we trust. Most people will naturally be humble when they are down, but their true colors shows when you empower them. There is nothing wrong in a little compromise for love. But when that love tries to take away so much from you, then you need to take a step back and question it, because it might just be your inner self screaming for acceptance and validation, and not true love. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share with me your thoughts about the story, and also what lessons did you learn from the story. Share the story out with your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel for more interesting story. Until I bring another story your way. Bye.